Hello, my name is Jada Swenson, a student at Dakota State University in Madison, South Dakota. Today I'm here to talk to you about special education. This is something that not a lot of people actually know much about, and this video is especially for you parents, informing you about the process of special education and some services for special education. I hope you enjoy this presentation, and I also hope you learn some new information too. In the past, people with special needs have not always been treated with the respect that they deserve. People were frightened and were cruel because they just didn't understand people with special needs. In the period of AD 1450 to 1700, there was a belief in demonology and superstition, which resulted in persecution of those who were developmentally disabled or any form of a special need. Then finally came some opportunities for individuals with special needs. During the 1800s, residential schools for individuals with social needs began to emerge. Most early schools actually avoided severely disabled students and only worked with the deaf, blind, or mentally challenged. It was not until the beginning of the 20th century that community-based programs for children with special needs began to appear. Currently, there are more than 550 centers that provide services that are individualized, family-focused, and tailored to meet the specific needs of the communities that they serve. As you can tell, special education has come a very long way in its journey in helping disabled people. The legislation for people with disabilities has been developing since the 1960s. With each new law or amendment, children and adults with disabilities are getting more of the help that they need. I want to make sure you know about the Vocational Rehabilitation Act of 1973. This was put in place to prevent the problem of discrimination against people with disabilities in the U.S. This is basically saying that there should be no reason, ever, that your child will be denied benefits or discrimination under programs receiving federal financial assistance. Then, in 1974, it extended coverage to all civil rights. You may be wondering, what type of civil rights am I talking about? Those civil rights include education, employment, health, welfare, and other social services. This is great for people with disabilities because they are finally gaining ground in being helped. This is so important because people with disabilities deserve to have a fulfilling life. What really is exciting is what came next. To me, this was the biggest legislation move, and that was called the Education for All Handicapped Children Act of 1975. In this act, people between the ages of 3 and 18 must be provided with free and appropriate public education. When I say appropriate, that means suited to the disability age, maturity, and past achievements of that child. This also means that the child will be placed in the classroom that will benefit the child the most. If the child would benefit being in the classroom more, then the child would be placed to stay in the classroom. If the child would benefit more from being outside of the classroom, then the child would be removed from the class and put in a more individualized area. So no matter what the disability of your child, there is always help for you and your child that is guaranteed. And as a teacher, my job is to watch your child and to notice if what we are doing is working or not working. And which brings me to my next step is the IEP process. Here is a picture of the IEP phases that will help you visualize the process. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act created some new regulations in 2006 that are still in effect today. This is where the IEPs come from. An IEP is a form that states the goals that schools and parents want for the children with disabilities. Before the IEP process even begins, the school contacts you as parents first and then has a meeting with you. A child cannot be evaluated without a parent consent. In the meeting, there should be at least one regular education teacher, one special education teacher, and at least one person who can relate the evaluation results to the goals and steps of the IEP. The IEP provides an opportunity for resolving the differences between the parents and the school personnel. An IEP does a lot of good things for your child. It enables a child with a disability to receive needed special education and related services. It also includes annual meetings and checkups on your child's progress. You as parents play a big role in the IEP because you have the rights to inspect and review all records relating to your child that a public agency collects. When your child is on an IEP, there may be some challenges and changes that you will have to face. For one thing, being on an IEP is a big process. First, your child is identified as possibly needing special education. Then your child is evaluated, and then his or her eligibility is decided. If your child is found eligible for services, an IEP meeting is scheduled. Then the IEP meeting is held, and an IEP is written. Your services will then be provided for your child. Progress is measured and reported to you regularly, and then the IEP is reviewed and the child is reevaluated. This process can be frustrating and overwhelming, but it is worth the time getting the help for your child. You may also be feeling scared of what is ahead of you or grief. It will all be okay, and there are people out there who are willing to help you and your child make this work. I would also like to talk about some descriptions of children with special needs defined by IDEA. Here are the 14 qualifications listed. This clarifies who is in need of special programs just so you can have an idea of what type of disabilities qualify. Let's start with autism. Autism significantly affects verbal and nonverbal communication and social interaction. It is generally evident around the age of 3, and the child is challenged in their education. Autism is the fastest growing serious developmental disability in the U.S. There is sadly no medical test to diagnose autism. Learning disabilities are another common disability developing in children. Even if your child has intelligence doesn't mean that they do not need special assistance. Often in their studies they need help with one area in school. This type of disability may affect the child's thinking, language, reading, writing, spelling, or even arithmetic. Some signs of a learning disability may be something as simple as having trouble learning the alphabet or not understanding what they are reading. Some tips for you as a parent in learning disability is to learn as much about the disability as you can. Observe your child playing and working. Give your child the opportunity to excel or enjoy activities outside the classroom, and help develop an educational plan for your child with the school. Now let's cover a mental disability. This type of disability is diagnosed by determining the ability of your child's brain to learn, think, solve problems, and make sense of the world. Did you know that more than 614,000 children ages 6 through 21 with mental disabilities have need for special education? It is more common than you think. Some tips for parents with a child that has mental disability would be to encourage your child to be independent. Those kind of things would include to learn how to dress themselves and use the bathroom by themselves. Praise is always something every parent should do with their child, especially if they have worked hard to complete a task. And maybe try and volunteer in the classroom from time to time to see how the teachers work with the children. I want to make sure you know that there are many resources for you and your child. Head Start is a great program to get involved in. It meets the needs and takes into consideration the strengths of each child based on their IEP. I would highly recommend getting involved in Head Start and child care. On my wiki page, I will have some more resources for you parents to check out. I lastly want to touch base on your rights as parents in South Dakota. There is a South Dakota's Parents' Right Handbook that you can find on the Board of Education webpage. It is basically protecting you as parents legally if the school is not doing what they are supposed to in helping your child. I will provide the link on my wiki page for you. Just to double check with you, I just want to make sure that you especially know that you have control of whatever goes on in your child's education. It is you that has the say, okay? Thank you so much for taking the time to view this video. I hope that I have made some things clear for you. Never be afraid to ask questions or be very involved in the decision making for your child. Thanks.